Hey everybody, my name is Latrice Sampson Richards. I am a licensed professional counselor and a certified life purpose and relationship coach for Black women who are ready to heal from our past so we can build the future that we deserve. And you are tuned in to episode 37 of Unicorns Talk Podcast, your weekly girl talk about Black women, our healing and manifestation. This is the final episode of season 1, y'all, which I really have mixed feelings about. So, let's go. OMG. Hello. I know some of y'all might be a little upset with me. I know it's been a while since y'all heard my voice. I haven't put out a new episode in about 2 weeks, and I apologize for that, people. Life has been so crazy and hectic these last couple weeks, and I missed a couple episodes. I'm preparing to move back to the States, as you all know. I'm in Cuba right now, so I'm preparing to come back on to the States, and I had a client event, a major client event that I was dealing with, and so it kind of just took me out of the loop. And so I apologize to y'all for not being as present as you all are used to having me, but I'm happy to be here. Of course, this is the final episode of season 1. I decided to just stay with my schedule, even though I missed my couple episodes. I decided to just stick with the schedule because I ain't gonna lie, y'all, I'm tired. I have some mixed feelings about the fact that this is my final episode. I mean, I'm happy that I've made it through a full season. I'm very happy that I decided to do seasons instead of just going straight through. But, I've grown so much, and I feel like I've learned so much about myself, about the work that I do, about myself personally and professionally. Like, I freaking love doing this podcast, and I've grown. I think even like you can hear the difference. I know some of you are new listeners. Shout out to all the new listeners. But if you go back to like episode 1, I feel like episode 1 was like a train wreck. And I always tell people when they listen to the show, or like when they're like, oh, I'm going to listen to the show. I said, well, listen, the first episode, like those first couple episodes, they're a little rough. Like it took me a while to really find my place in this podcasting thing. And so I definitely feel like I have grown by leaps and bounds. Season 2 I'm planning it already, and I already have big ideas, and there's going to be even more growth that's going to happen there. I'm looking forward to taking this break, but I am a little uneasy about the break. I'm not going to lie, because, it's just a possibility. Anytime you take a break like that with the podcast or like with your show and things like that, there's a possibility of losing connection with my listeners. And so I don't want to lose connection with y'all. I love y'all. Y'all are my peoples. And so I'm excited about where the podcast is going, and everything that I have coming up for the podcast. We're going to be back in August. And I just want y'all to make sure y'all continue to rock with me. I'm still going to be on the social media and stuff like that. I'm taking 2 weeks off, about 2.5 weeks off the second half of June, where I'm really not doing anything, y'all. Like, I just need a break. I'm tired. But after that, I'm going to get back to planning for the podcast and things like that. And I'll give y'all more information about that at the end of the show. But this is the final episode for this season, and it is a good one. I'm like really, well, y'all know, I always say I'm excited, but I'm really excited. This is a really amazing episode. Today, I am doing an interview with Jayden Hollywood, who is the host of Unapologetik Podcast. Now, if y'all remember, a couple months ago, Jayden had me as a guest on his show, and we talked about Bob's Burgers and blinged out bonnets. Okay. If you haven't checked out that episode, please make sure that you do. You can go over to the website, latricesampsonrichards.com /, Unicorns Talk Pod, and you can actually listen right there on the page to that episode that I did with Jayden on Jayden's podcast. But Jayden has been a great supporter of myself and of the show since he discovered me a couple months ago. And since then, he and I have really developed a connection with each other and a really, I think, the budding stages of a real friendship, you know? And so I'm really excited about that. And so June is LGBT Pride Month. And I know that we're a little early, but since this is the last episode of the season, I decided to dedicate this episode to my LGBTQ listeners. I know y'all out there, you all send me messages all the time and reach out to me. So I have a good bit of male and female. I know that the show is definitely geared toward Black women and it is for us, but it's really for anybody who gets benefit from it. And so I have a great deal of male LGBTQ listeners. So I guess it would just be GBTQ, right? I don't know. I'm sure someone will tell me. But anyway, I have a good bit of male listeners who, you know, celebrate for the month of June. And I'm excited, you know, to be able to dedicate this episode to you all, my last episode for the season, because I want you all to know that I see you. I know that you're here. And I am talking to you just as much as I'm talking to anybody else, okay? So Jayden and I will be discussing his intersectionality as a professional, creative, Black gay male, and really what that means for him. We also talk about how it has affected his life and how he manages to remain an unapologetic, fierce, just being. Like, Jayden is so freaking awesome and amazing, and like how he manages to live that life and just be so free and live him and live as himself authentically every single day, within all of his communities. And so it's a really good interview, you guys. You all are really going to enjoy it. So I'm excited about that. If you have not already, please make sure that you rate, comment, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or anywhere that you're listening right now. I really love it when y'all let me know that you're listening and just share with the world. And you all have been doing that. Like, y'all have been so good to me this season. I was so nervous to start this podcast, and you know, once I actually got it started and I'm starting to find my people, like, y'all are my people and I appreciate y'all. And so, you know, if you like what you hear, go ahead and let somebody know. Share, comment, subscribe on Apple Podcasts and let the people know. Okay. I sure do appreciate y'all. And so we're going to go ahead and jump right on into the interview with Jayden. And then, you know, of course, after that, I'm going to be back with high five and shout outs and announcements and reality check and all of that good stuff. Okay. Enjoy. A native of DC, Jayden Hollywood has been a star since the tender age of 5. He began his career by performing in church plays and later became a leading role in many school productions. Today, he can be found working as an accountant by day and a creative by night. An entrepreneur, a hustler, and a Renaissance man, Jayden can do it all. And I am so happy to have you here today, Jayden. Like, I'm super excited. This is my happy dance. I'm so happy, like, you're finally here.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I feel like it has been like a very long time coming.
Mm-hmm.
And so welcome to Unicorns Talk Podcast.
Thank you.
What's going on, Jayden?
You know, I'm just over here living my best life.
Yes, just like Cardi. Have you heard the new Cardi album?
Yeah, I heard it. It was cool.
I'm living my best life.
Right.
Yes, I love that song. It's one of my favorite songs on the album. Cardi has really helped me, like, get in touch with my inner ratchet, and for that I am thankful, you know?
Right.
Absolutely. All right. So today, Jayden and I are going to be talking about intersectionality. And this is actually a topic that you came up with when we were discussing whether or not we wanted to, or like what it would look like for us to kind of work together and stuff like that in the future. And I fell in love with this topic, and I have just been doing a ridiculous amount of research on it and stuff like that to prepare for our interview today. And so, I was asking myself, like, what was my experience with intersectionality, specifically in the gay community? And so, my very first understanding, okay, this is a real ratchet ass story. I'm just letting you know now.
Here we go.
Well, I don't know if it's ratchet, but it's just, I don't know. I feel like the first time that I really became aware of, or like, I think began to understand the intersectionality between gayness or sexual orientation and gender, not so much with race, but with gender, was so I have my friends that one of my friends, Dion, hey Dion, and another one of my really good friends, Takara, are both, gay or whatever. So we had a mutual friend at the time that was my best friend, and we all used to get together and, smoke and chill and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And so one night we was like, okay, we all gonna get together. We're gonna go over to the other girl's house, and we get over there, and the girl had a rat in her kitchen.
What?
And yes, and listen, boo, I don't do rodents. Okay,
me neither.
I
would have immediately packed my bags.
Oh my goodness! But it was like, but we was all like, we're not gonna miss out on the smoke session, though. You know what I'm saying? So we get over there or whatever, and we the rat was in the kitchen. We were in the living room, so we were like, okay, if we don't go in there, he not gonna come out here. We're gonna be all right. You know what I'm saying? That's how real it was. Okay, so TK gets there, Takara gets there, and this is my female friend that's gay, and she gets there, and the rat decides that it wants to come out of the kitchen and into the dining room / living room, right? So,
like, hey y'all, I'm here to party too. Pass the blunt.
Listen. So all three of us get scared and jumped up on the sofa. And me and my friend, we looking at TK like, bitch, what are you doing? Like, go get that rat. And she looked at us. She was like, I am a girl. she said, I am a girl. She was like, I'm up here just like y'all up here. And I was like, oh my God, we just fell out laughing. And then when Dion got there, now Dion is like 6'3", he a country boy, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is like, he is a man's man. But when Dion got there, Dion was like, what the hell is wrong with y'all? And so we was like, they got a rat over there and this, that, and the other. He was like, y'all tripping. He went over there. He got that broom. He beat the hell out of that rat and carried that rat on out the house. And we was just dying laughing. And that was my first real experience with, like, my first understanding of the biases that we hold, because these are like my best friends, you know what I'm saying? And I never saw them as gay, straight, whatever. They were just my friends. Or I never thought or realized that I held those biases. But we were both expecting TK because, she's a, I don't know what you call it. Well, I mean, I know what I want to call it, but I feel like that's not the appropriate word. She's very, she's not masculine, but she
ain't masculine, but she ain't feminine.
Exactly.
She's like in between.
Yes.
That's a STEM.
Okay.
A stud and femme put
she's
together.
A stud. That's what she is. Oh, a STEM. Okay, yeah. I like that.
Okay, so a stud is like, I'm wearing straight back cornrows. I'm wearing a training bra, baggy pants, baggy clothes. A STEM is like, I'll wear Timbs and some jeans, but I'm also gonna be, I'm still gonna have my sew-in and
Right. Well, so she don't do a sew-in, but she have locks, and her locks are super long. But she used Noxzema on her skin. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, she's a pretty girl, but she's also, like, she's a stud at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So it's like this weird place. But we were expecting TK to go in there. We was like, bitch, go get this rat. What are you doing? Like, expecting her to be more masculine, and subconsciously expecting Dion to be more feminine. And so I think for me, that was my first time really becoming aware of my own biases in terms of their intersectionalities. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And so we laugh about it. We died laughing about it that night. Like, I mean, I thought that was the funniest thing ever, but it really did teach me a lesson. So, as I started doing research for this episode and I started just thinking about what my own biases are and what are the biases that I hold, it made me think about that story. And I don't know if that's so much about intersectionality as much as it is about stereotype or whatever that may be. You know what I'm saying? So I guess my first question is, what is intersectionality and in what ways does it affect you in your life?
Oh, that's a complex question with layers. So I think intersectionality is it's subjective. It depends on who you're asking, because to some people intersectionality can just mean, okay, well, I'm including one Black person in the group, so I'm not racist,
Mm-hmm.
But I think, to me, when I think intersectionality, I think being in a group and being acceptive of others and whatever their walk of life is, whatever their upbringing is, whether their class, their race, their sexual orientation, and just having given everybody the equal opportunity to be a part of something. Certain things don't need intersectionality, like maybe a sorority or groups for minorities. Sometimes intersectionality isn't always needed, but to me, I think overall this world is a better place especially when it comes to employment, if we employ more of those intersectionality views.
Absolutely. And, it's so interesting that you talk about sororities because, I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And me and my line sisters actually was just having this conversation, literally, like we have a group chat and we were just talking about this the other day, how, Delta has now made provisions to allow transgender people to
Wow, I did not
join the
know
org.
that.
Yes. And I believe that we are the first, and so there's a lot of mixed feelings about that within the organization. And so, maybe that is a place where intersectionality is starting to kind of include itself as well.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if somebody makes that transition to identify as a woman, I think that person should be able to be a part of a woman organization. At the end of the day, the same thing that Black cis women go through, not the same thing, but very similar struggles, Black trans women is going to have to encounter. At the end of the day, when you go to the gas station, it's going to be them hood rats that hang outside and be like, hey, ma,
Right, right. It's
yeah.
so interesting, like for you to how you kind of corrected and said not exactly the same thing. So I feel like people get so upset when you say that, but the reality is that the experiences are different. There are similarities. Of course, there are similarities, but the experience is different. I don't know what it's like to be a trans woman, and a trans woman doesn't know what it's like to be a natural born woman. And so I think it doesn't dilute either experience to acknowledge that the experiences have differences, And so yeah, so that's that. But we're gonna get I be getting off topic, Jayden.
Yeah, it's all good.
I be going way, way, way over there. So how has in what ways has intersectionality affected you in your life, like in business, in the workplace, with family? Like what has your experience been like in terms of maneuvering through intersectionality?
Okay, so let's start with family. So my immediate family, my mom, my dad, and my two younger brothers, that's who I grew up with. Earlier on, I felt like we were very family oriented. We went to the cookouts, we went to the, big Thanksgiving dinner. But as the years started to progress, less and less people started to come to the Thanksgiving dinner, especially after my grandmother passed away. It just started to get to the point where it was just our family and maybe two of my aunt's families that would come. So, near adulthood, I just started to realize that my dad started to distance himself from his siblings because he kind of felt like, I'm going places in life. They're not. I'm trying to help them. I'm trying to help them get to the next level, but they're not listening. They're okay with mediocrity. They're okay with renting an apartment. Like, this is what I don't understand, and which is me and him on the same page. People who grew up in DC should have been bought some property decades ago. If you've been in DC since the 80s, like, I just think it's crazy that you've been renting this whole time, and the housing market in DC has skyrocketed. So
right.
it's just crazy. So as far as family is concerned, I only had one aunt that used to talk shit, but like, she ain't bring that same energy when I popped up at her house.
No, you didn't pop up on her, did you?
I sure did. I was like, you know what? I think she live around the corner. I'm gonna pop up on that ass. So I popped up at her house. And it was like, it's so weird how, like, people talk about you behind your back and talk about you on social media, but then when they see you, it's like, it's all love. It's like, at the end of the day, you don't really hate me. You're a fan. You're the president of my fan club, matter of fact. And I think that there's a problem with you. Me, like, she used to comment on, like, pictures that I will post on Facebook and stuff. Like, I'm not in the closet, so I'm not about to pretend to be in the closet and hide my light from shining. Fuck that. I'm gonna shine bright like a diamond, whether you like it or not.
Okay.
So your insecurities is causing you to talk shit, but I'm not gonna allow that to stop me. So my mom, called me. It was like, your aunt said this, and that. Maybe you shouldn't post so much. And I said, well, maybe she should mind her damn business. She's grown, so whatever problem she has, that's on her. So whatever family member don't fuck with me, at the end of the day, if I could care less, because y'all not helping me go to college, y'all not paying my bills, y'all don't call to check up on me. We never really have that strong relationship. So it's all good. I've realized how to just be on my own without the help of family. So that's how my experience has been with family. In regards to the workplace, I think that in my line of work, previously I did a lot of sales, customer service. So being a gay man is actually an advantage in that regards. I think that gay men are, I would say the stereotype is that we're more well-spoken, which oftentimes is the truth. So as far as the workplace is concerned, it's never usually been a problem. I never really had employers that have brought it up or have asked questions or made a big deal or anything like that, because they see the value that I bring to their company. There was only one time that it was an issue, and I had this internship at town hall. Believe it or not, I was doing landscaping for a whole summer. So I was out there cutting grass.
Okay.
I was on the trash truck. I was cleaning the city. I was doing some quote unquote real men work,
Yeah, like some manual labor out here.
Right. So imagine me, like, being 17 years old. I mean, I'm pretty now, but I was real pretty back then, like no beard or nothing. Voice wasn't even like, I had no bass in my voice or nothing. But I remember a few coworkers, had just said some slick shit on the side. However, it didn't affect my employment there, because at the end of the day, I'm working harder than y'all. Y'all might say that I'm gay or whatever, but why is it that I'm here earlier than you? I'm always getting praised by my employers and the older coworkers. So obviously, that's not an issue. So I ain't gonna let it. I ain't gonna, sweat over it.
Right.
As far as school is concerned, oh man, I would say the first, grade school was terrible. I was called every name in the book. But it wasn't when I got to college that I really, like, I feel like people, they develop their sexuality and they come into their sexuality at different times. And I feel like it wasn't until I went to college that I really realized fully and understood what my sexual orientation was. And I just looked in the mirror and I said, if no one else is going to love you, you got to love yourself. So
that's what I was just about to ask you. In my head anyway, I was asking in my head, like, at what point did you realize that, maybe that I don't want to use the word different. I feel like that's the word that comes in my mind. But I don't know. I have an aversion to using that word. But when did you realize that, you wasn't like the other boys? You know what I'm saying? That there was something different about the way that you saw other boys and things like that. Like, when did you realize that you maybe identify differently? Not so much when you accepted it, but when did you really first become aware?
Early on. I mean, I'm talking kindergarten. Yeah, I realized in kindergarten, because believe it or not, men start arousal. You can start getting aroused actually as a baby.
Oh yeah, all right. I'm a therapist, right? I'm a counselor. So I tell people all the time, like I've worked with parents who get so worried and so concerned because their 3-year-old is like touching himself or masturbating, or not masturbating full on, because that's not necessarily a thing, but like touching on themselves and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is developmentally appropriate. I need you to realize that your child is realizing that it feels good. And it does feel good. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to touch it. So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, that I definitely knew at 4 years old that something was different. I always knew that I was different. And I always kind of felt like alone a little bit, being the oldest, not having an older sibling, and, not being able to talk to anybody about these feelings that you're going through and these thoughts that are going through your head. It was a journey. And it didn't really, I didn't really fully feel like I blossomed until adulthood.
Wow. That's I'm always interested in like asking that question, because the big debate, or a big part of that debate in terms of understanding gender identification, sexual identification, homosexuality, things like that, is that people feel like it's a choice. Some people feel like it is a choice or a decision. And so whenever I feel like I consistently get the same type of response that what you're saying, like, I knew from a little boy. I knew early on. I always knew, like, from the moment I became aware of, who I am. I knew that this is what I wanted, or that this is what I was attracted to. And so I feel like that really, it's important for people to understand that, it's not a choice. Like, this is, at 4 years old, you don't even understand what it is to choose to be gay. Like, how is that even a decision that you're making? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I feel like it's an indicator to me, and this is my clinical mind again, it's an indicator to me that, it's less choice and more orientation, like real actual orientation. And so I'm just always interested in that answer. So, like, in what ways does your intersectionality come up in relationships? Because Janelle Monáe, who I love, and I actually just bought tickets to her concert. I'm
nice.
excited. Yes. But anyway, Janelle Monáe recently came out as pansexual, and she said, quote, "I am a free ass motherfucker." And I enjoyed that. I had thoroughly enjoyed that. But it's been rumored that she might be dating Tessa Thompson and things like that. And she finally came out and said, like,
oh
look,
yeah, they definitely.
oh yes, absolutely. I feel like, I mean, Tessa Thompson is a decent actress or whatever, but I'm pretty sure there was a chemistry between them in that emotion picture. So anyway, like, and I really do believe, like, in watching it and in trying to understand it and things like that, I think that the connection that she has, or within the relationship that she has with Tessa Thompson, I think that could possibly be one of the things that kind of encouraged her or motivated her to go ahead and be out in the open, because Janelle Monáe has never shared this much of herself with the public. And so I feel like maybe that relationship and her, the love that she has, or the connection that she's experienced within that relationship, has really prompted her to like want to put herself on display in that way. And so it made me think about, or wonder, like, in what ways does that intersectionality come up in your relationships? Like, how does it affect how you experience the relationship, how you interact with the relationship, who you are within the relationship, and even the expectations that the other person has for you? Like, if you're dating a white guy or something like that, does he have different expectations from you than a Black man might have from you within a relationship?
When it comes to actual dating relationships, I think that it doesn't play too much of a part, only because, of course, if I'm dating somebody, I'm dating a like-minded individual.
Right.
And I think that the psyche of that other individual kind of determines the overall vibe of where it's going to go, because a lot of people don't recognize that the lack of intersectionality that they've experienced has caused trauma in their life, and they have not worked through that trauma. So they grow up in adulthood putting on this facade, this persona, that they want to be accepted by straight people so bad. They want to be a part of the straight crew so bad that they cannot and will not live their best life and live their genuine life, being their genuine self. I even know people that, even in the podcast industry, it's very evident that some gay people don't interact with other gay podcasters. You know,
Really?
they do the most for attention for the straight man. And I'm just like, yo, like, this dude is not like, this person cannot feel you on the level of your trauma and, you know, what you've been going through and the problems that you've encountered. I mean, of course, there's levels to privilege and there's levels to trauma. So as a Black man, gay or straight, of course, we've encountered similar biases and similar things, similar hurdles that we've had to jump over. But I just think that there's not that overall big happy family that I see in Black women. You know, Black women, we have Black girl magic and things of that nature. But in the Black gay male community, I don't think that there's a lot of that. But back to the original question with dating, I think that some people are a little more private because of their experiences with intersectionality. Like, some people don't like to go out on a date. Like, out, let's go to the movies. I'm not saying we gotta hold hands, you know, but let's go
Right.
out to eat. But and some people are just not with that. But shit, I'm gonna go wherever. Ain't nobody gonna
Right.
stop me.
Right. That's so, man, that's so interesting. Like, I never even really thought about it from that perspective. You know, how you were saying, just a second ago, you were saying how, how it is in the Black community, you know, and that was something that I wondered about in the Black gay male community, right? And how sometimes they tend to pander toward trying to get the respect, or trying to get the attention from, not attention, but I guess, yeah, maybe acknowledgement is the word that I'm
Right.
looking for. Acknowledgement from like the straight community, whereas that straight community is not going to be able to love on you and support you and give you the
Mm-hmm.
things that you know the gay community will give you. And so, in your experience, do you think that the bias is greater from the Black community, or do you think the bias is greater in the gay community?
When you say bias, what exactly do you mean?
So I guess I'm talking about in terms of the level of acceptance, the level of support, the level of freedom that you are allowed within that community.
Mm. I think that, honestly, I feel more connected. So it's between the gay community and the Black community.
Yeah, let's do gay community and Black community, and then gay community. And I don't know if it would even be a thing between gay community and straight community. You know what I'm saying? Like, what, or whatever your communities are, because
Right.
that's the thing about intersectionality, right? Is that everybody's intersectionality communities, like the communities that we participate in, are unique to ourselves, right? And so we can
Mm-hmm.
be participating in like 5 or 6 different communities, and that's what creates our intersectionality. That's what creates our experience with intersectionality. So whatever your communities are, whatever communities you feel you are a part of, that you experience or that you exist within that intersectionality.
Well, overall, I think that I get more support overall from the Black community that I do from the gay community when it comes to my creative projects,
Mm.
and businesses and things of that nature. But when it comes to who I've encountered more of a conflict from, I think that I have more issues with the straight community as far as my upbringing is concerned. Actually not. Okay, so with the conflict, I think it should be between the straight community and the Black community, just
Okay.
heteros in general, and then Black community in general. So I think that I felt like there's been more of opposition from the Black community, because I feel like we as as the Black community, we have just been, it's like we're robots in the sense that we have been taught from birth, you're a Christian, you're a Democrat. If you do this, you're going to hell. If you do this, you're going to heaven.
Yeah, like you belong in this group and you can only belong in this group. And so this is what it means to be a part of this group. And if you don't
Right.
conform to that, then either you can't be a part of this group, or we're not going to accept you, and things like that, bullshit like that, right?
Right. You're
Yeah.
not a real man if this. Only women do this. Only women like this.
Yeah.
All of that BS that comes along with it. It's crazy, like how hypocritical the Black community could be. Like, you have 3 children, you've never been married, you have 3 different fathers to your children, but you're judging me and telling me that I'm going to hell. Okay.
Mm.
You
It's so
know,
interesting that you, the person that you described, I guess, as your primary critic would be a Black woman, right? Like, you have 3 children, 3 different men, and you're criticizing me. So do you feel like you get more backlash from Black women than you do from Black men?
um I think overall Black women are just a little more, women in general, a little more vocal than men. Women consume more than men. Women,
Yeah.
it's better if you own a business. It's easier to advertise to women than to men. But honestly, I think that there's been more opposition from men. I just think that they don't say much. It's
Mm.
crazy, like how guys will talk shit about me, but won't say nothing when I'm in the room. You won't say nothing when I'm in your face. You know what I'm saying? But as soon as I leave, that's when you open your mouth. But
Mm.
you consider yourself a real nigga, right?
Right. Right.
But you had the opportunity to say what you had to say, what you wanted to say, what you've been dying to say, what you've been saying about me all this time. I'm here.
Right. I
What's
think that's how
up?
human beings work in general. Like, that's how people tend to work. And that's why I tell people it took me a long time to really, in my own personal life, it took me a long time to really like understand that, and like to be able to implement that in my day-to-day life, that people are always more vocal. Like, you the baddest bitch when you ain't in front of somebody's face, like
Mm-hmm.
you can say anything when there's no threat of actual confrontation or conflict. But when you confront somebody, or when you confront things, the likelihood that they are going to stand by whatever it is that they said is slim. It's few and far between, because that's just, I think that's that is the nature of our humanness. Out of sight is out of mind. It's easier to like talk about things, or to express our opinions about things, or what we believe to be our opinion about things, when we are not necessarily confronted with the reality of that. But when you are confronted, it becomes real for you. Like, it's not like I can say something about somebody on the internet, or I can say something about somebody behind their back to another group of people, because in my mind, it's not a person, it's a thing, it's a concept, it's an idea. But when that person is standing in front of me, then I see that it is a real life human being. This is a soul. This is a spirit that I'm talking about, that I'm interacting with, that I'm affecting. And it really makes a difference. It's cognitive dissonance. When it's not there, I can rationalize that it's not a real thing. It's just the idea. But when it is there, then that conflicts with my rationalization. You know what I'm saying? And I have to treat it as if it's something that's real. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about. And that's not just, in this particular situation, like that's not just with the Black community or like with the gay community or whatever, that particular intersectionality. I think that's human beings in general. And that's why I'm always a big advocate of confrontation. I don't think that confrontation has to always be a negative or like a super bad experience. It's necessary. Confront things, talk about things, put those things out in the open, because I guarantee you the experience is going to be different,
Yeah, there's a psychology term. I don't remember what it's called. It was whatever it is, it's in the same chapter as social loafing. That's all I remember. But it's basically the sense that you, in your mind, things are only what you've experienced. So let me explain that a little further, because I know people are like, what? That doesn't make sense. So for me, in Atlanta, it is warm enough for me to wear a short sleeve shirt and maybe a cardigan. Okay, in December.
Okay.
So in my mind, everywhere it's warm enough to wear a short sleeve shirt in December. Let's say I am attracted to, let's just say, who can I think of off the top of my head? Let's just say I'm attracted to Terrence Howard, right? Then Terrence Howard is attractive, and everybody should be attracted to Terrence Howard. And if you're not, then something is wrong with you.
Absolutely. I understand exactly what you're saying. It's perception, right? It's the idea that my perception is my reality. It does not matter what the actual reality is. If I believe that it is real, then it is real for me. And so I think a lot of times people overlook that, and we get wrapped up. Well, not even necessarily overlook that, but we get wrapped up in that. And we believe that because it's real for me, then it must be real for everybody, right? And that's not the reality. And it makes it difficult for us to be able to, see other people's point of view. I call it the bubble. That's how I explain it, is the bubble. You ever seen that movie, The Bubble Boy?
Yep.
Okay, I love that movie, by the way. I think it's super funny, but it's a real thing. When the Bubble Boy wanted to go out into the world to explore the world, then he had to put on a bubble suit, right? And he walked around in this bubble suit. And so the entire world for him was experienced from within this bubble suit. So whatever could not come into that suit, he could not experience, right? And so I think that this is kind of how we walk around the world. It's like everybody has this little bubble, and we walk around the world with our little bubble surrounding us. And so our experiences and our perceptions fill up our bubble. And if we cannot hold it within the realm of our bubble, then it's hard for us to understand what it's like, to know what it is, to know what it feels like to experience that, because it's outside of our bubble. And so I think what happens sometimes is that our bubbles get so full that all we can see and all we can pay attention to is that which is inside of our bubble. And that makes it difficult for us to see outside of our bubble into somebody else's bubble. And so we end up clashing with people. We end up, kind of almost like walking around with these blinders on, because our bubble does not allow us to experience other things. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think people need to step outside their bubble and experience new things, because because of social loafing, because of groupthink, it's like when you get around the group of like-minded individuals. I remember when I was learning this, I was in high school, and I went to a high school that was 50% Black, 49% Spanish, and 1% white. So all I know is being around people of color. All I know is being around low middle class. That's all I know. So I knew that in order for me to really be better than where I am and to go to the next level, I need to experience something different. I need to get out of this bubble, because people, it's like people who move away, it's oftentimes we look back on social media and we see those people that never left hometown, that live right down the street from their mama.
Yeah.
And they still wearing the same clothes from high school. It's like people just don't grow because they don't step outside their bubble. So one of the missions of my Unapologetic tour is to bridge the gap and really, for me to get new perspectives, but for other people to experience me, because a lot of people have not experienced Jayden Hollywood, so
absolutely.
I need the world to hear what I have to say. I need the world to hear that, like, my views on a lot of things are not the same as other people. And I want to challenge people's thinking in a positive manner. I don't want people to feel like a mental slave. I don't want people to feel like you have to do this by this age. You have to get married, get a house, have 3 kids, have a white picket fence. That there's different ways of maneuvering through life where you're not putting down the next person because they're not doing what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, that was actually my next question. So you kind of already, like, that's a good transition into the next question, which is, for you, what does it mean to be unapologetic? Because you have your hands in a little bit of every damn thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are busy. You do beauty and makeup. I know you do some modeling here and there. You do the podcasting, you do the accounting, like you're planning this tour. And so, like, you really infuse yourself. That's one of the things that I really love about you, is that you infuse yourself in everything that you're doing. And that's one of the things that I strive to do as well, is to be authentic and to be who I am. And so what does it mean for you to be unapologetic?
For me, being unapologetic is walking in a room full of straight people and being my genuine self, knowing that all eyes are on me and everybody is judging me, and not feeling like I have to hide. I'm not saying that being unapologetic for me is different than being unapologetic for the next person. The next person might not be a social butterfly. The next person might not be an extrovert, but me, I'm going to be me because I know the person that I am is a great person. When I walk in a room, I'm not walking in a room like, oh, why are you wearing them shoes? Why your hair look like that? Why you wearing that? I'm like, hi, nice to meet you. My name is Jayden. I'm embracing people. So I'm going to be me.
Yeah, so kind of like the difference between being confident and being cocky, right? Like, or like, confidence is walking into the room and saying, "Hey, this is me, and I'm proud to be who I am, take it or leave it." Whereas cocky is saying, "This is me, and who you are ain't shit." Like that's, yeah. I always tell people you don't have to be arrogant in order to be confident. And there's a very fine line between arrogance and confidence, and I think that is what that line is, and I agree with you. Like, unapologetic is reveling in who you are and what you bring to the table, but it's not being an asshole just for the sake of being an asshole. I feel like a lot of times people use the idea of living unapologetically as an excuse to just look down on other people and to be an asshole, and that's not okay.
Right. That's a toxic behavior and it needs to be addressed. Like, somebody needs to check you. There's a difference between me saying my unapologetic opinion on this is ABC versus me saying, you know what, this is my opinion and this is what it is, and I'm not taking it back, and fuck you if you got a problem with it. Like, that mentality that, like, oh, I just tell it like it is. I hate when people say that. Like,
right.
You don't tell it like it is. You tell it how you see it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
and there is a way to, like, there's nothing wrong with telling it how you see it. There's nothing wrong with seeing the world the way that you see the world, but there is a way to express that and to stand in that and to walk in that and live in that unapologetically without being a douchebag. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
you don't have to be that person. You are choosing to be that person, you know?
Yeah.
It's a difference. So, Jayden, let us know what you have going on this unapologetic tour. I am excited about. I'm gonna be back in the States on June 19th, and I'm definitely gonna have to come and see you. What's going on with this tour?
So the Unapologetic Tour, it's me basically going across the country, just growing my brand and getting the word out there about an event that I'm throwing in October called A Pod Connection.
And I
So
will be there. I
yes.
am claiming that I will be at the Pod Connection. Yes, I shall.
So last year, A Pod Connection, we hosted a meetup in Charlotte, North Carolina, and this year we're bringing it to Atlanta, Georgia. It's going to be a weekend for podcasters, content creators, and aspiring anything adjacent to pretty much get together, meet new people, and learn and party and celebrate. A lot of us, I just did episode 50, so I'm celebrating a year. Some people just getting in the game. Some people is on episode 100, 150. Everybody is on different levels. And I feel like in order for us to grow, I think that us helping each other as a collective is what really needs to happen. So of course, Friday night is going to be more of a meetup, get to know people, go out. I'm gonna show y'all how we get down in Atlanta because when I
Okay.
roll, when I go out, I'm going out. Okay.
Let me tell you, I've been to Atlanta a couple of times, but I ain't never partied in Atlanta, like for real, for real. So you're gonna have to like show me where the party at for real, for real.
Yeah, I'm gonna give y'all a nice VIP experience. And
Mm.
Saturday is going to be more of the business side. So we're going to have a few. I haven't told anybody this, but we're going to be doing some live recordings.
Is this an exclusive? Oh my
It
God,
is an exclusive.
Jayden gave me an exclusive, y'all. Y'all better know it. Y'all better know it. Okay, so we getting a little exclusive here.
So we're also going to be doing having some guest speakers, people talking about everything as far as advertising for podcast equipment, software, all that good stuff. Because I want people to leave with something both tangible and intangible.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also going to be an opportunity for all the people that are there to meet new people and make some long-lasting connections. After that, we're probably going to be going out again that night. And then Sunday night, it's going to be a going away brunch. And, we gets down in Atlanta when it comes to brunch on Sundays. So
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be lit.
It's gonna be a trap brunch.
Yeah, yeah. It's going to be hookah, mimosas, chicken and waffles, shrimp and grits, all the good stuff.
I am with it. I am in the building, absolutely in the building. Jayden, I am so grateful that our paths have crossed. I be all up in the spiritual realm and things, and so I really do believe that people come into our lives at the exact moment that they are
Mm-hmm.
intended to come into our lives. And so it's important for me to make sure that I verbalize to you that the impact that you've had on my life, and even in my podcast. And I know we have not known each other very long, but we really clicked like immediately, pretty much
Mm-hmm.
immediately. And I don't think that was by accident, because as I've moved through my podcasting journey, a lot of people have come into my sphere that I have not been able to make that type of connection with them. And so I do believe that you and I serve a very intense and specific purpose in each other's lives. And I am so, so grateful to Black Married Fly podcast for introducing me to you.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to them.
Yes, yes. And so, but I'm grateful to have you as a part of my life. And I'm just excited to see how this relationship grows, this, both personally and business wise. But then also, I'm excited to see your growth, and
Thank
because
you.
you are definitely on a path that is moving upward and onward, and I'm just excited about that, and I'm very grateful to have you on the show, but then also as a part of my life.
Thank you. The feeling is definitely mutual. I definitely feel like you said, people are brought into your life for a reason and at the right time. And in addition to that, I feel like what I'm doing is greater than me. I'm just a vessel to. I don't even know what the end game is, to be honest, but I do see the fruits of my labor. I do see people that may have never been connected to each other. I've seen so many connections that I've been able to create, which is the beauty of it, like a pod connection. Like I'm creating all these different connections for people to get to the next level and grow. And it's just amazing to see that.
Yeah.
And I know that putting that in the environment, putting that in the atmosphere, it's going to come back. I just came back from Vegas not too long ago, where
I know.
that was
I saw the
lit.
post. I wanted to go so bad, but I'm like, I'm in Cuba. But that's all right, because I'm gonna be there next year. I already have it on my list of shit to do.
It was lit. It was put on by Drunk Mind Sober Thoughts podcast. So shout out to them. Congratulations to these gentlemen who just celebrated episode 100. And it was just great to meet so many people that I've seen on social media and, have interacted with, and people that I've never interacted with, and to, build a genuine connection with these people and to interact with these people and being on different platforms. I mean, I'm like on 4+ podcasts this week, so it's just been amazing that people want to hear what I have to say and that their listeners are having some takeaways from what I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. I mean, when you're the realist or whatever, people be wanting to hear from you. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
Hey, hey.
that's a fact. So coming up, I have Philly, um, Baltimore, DC, New York, Jersey, New Orleans, Jacksonville, Memphis, Charlotte, and then it all ends here in Atlanta. So I have a very busy summer and I'm looking forward to it.
You do. I'm planning my first tour, and my tour is only going to be like 4 cities.
Ain't
To
nothing wrong with
start off.
that.
You're right. But I'm out here I'm trying to get to your level. You know what I'm saying? Teach me your ways. I'm trying to get
Yes,
where
I
you
got
at.
you.
You know what I'm saying? So go ahead and let everybody know, Jayden, how they can get in touch with you, how they can get, hook up with you for your services, listen to your podcast, the whole 9 yards.
So you can find me on both Instagram and Twitter at the great Jayden, Jayden being spelled Jayden. My website is mrjaydenhollywood.com. You can email me at mrjaydenhollywood@gmail.com. And pretty much once you get on the website or once you go on my social media, you pretty much see everything that I'm about. And when people reach out, I'm very, like, I'm not too good to talk to anybody. I don't want people to think just because I'm Jayden Hollywood that I'm too Hollywood to talk to people. Like, I'm all about interaction and I'm all about all of us growing. So if you ever send me a DM and I don't say nothing in 2 days, just tweet me and let me know to check my DM, because sometimes that does happen. But yeah, follow me on all social media and interact with me. And yeah, you fuck with me, I fuck with you. Period.
Yeah, and check out Unapologetic Podcast. It is a
Yes.
really good podcast. I thoroughly enjoy. I get my whole life. I be texting you. One day I was listening to the podcast and something happened on there, and I'm talking about I've had fell out. I thought that was so funny. I said, let me text this boy and tell him how you have in this house just a rolling. So check out Unapologetic Podcast. That's Unapologetic with a K, not
Yes.
a C, because did I tell you that there's another Unapologetic Podcast and I was listening to the wrong podcast?
Well, here's the funny thing. When I introduced my podcast, there was an Unapologetic Podcast with a C, but they only had 2 episodes.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay, well, they haven't even posted in 6 months, so they're not active. So, but just because I wanted to be different, I'm gonna put a K on mine because that's not taken, right? So at first I had a radio show, it was Unapologetic Radio, and then I transferred it into a podcast. But now I see that there's an Unapologetic Radio that spells it the way I did.
Oh.
But it is what it is. It ain't no hate. It ain't no shade or nothing,
No, and they not you, boo. They not you. They not bringing that to the table.
Right. What's meant for me is meant for me. So
yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, Jayden, thank you so much for sitting down with me today and talking about, just your life and like sharing your life with myself and with my listeners. One of the things I know you listen to my show, and so you already know that I think it's so important for us to be able to share our stories and for us to, just kind of share our journeys with each other, because this is how we grow and this is how we learn. And I would hope that anybody that's listening that identifies with your story and identifies with your experience feels empowered and enabled to kind of live their best life and to be #unapologetic. Okay. Yes, with the K. Yes. Thank you so much for being here today, Jayden. I love you, boo.
Love you too.
Thank you so much to Jayden for being a guest on my show. Isn't he freaking amazing, y'all? Like, I'm so grateful to have met him. I know I said this already in the interview, but like, I'm just so grateful to have met Jayden. He's one of those kind of people that is really just like a genuine, authentic being, and you can really I think it's easy to get comfortable with him and around him because he's comfortable in and around himself, like with who he is. And so it makes it a lot easier for you to be comfortable with who you are. So thank you so much again to Jayden Hollywood for being a guest on the show and just for being a friend to the show and a supporter of the show. And just for being like freaking awesome and freaking amazing and all that good stuff. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, Jayden. I love you and I appreciate you. And the sky is the limit. I cannot wait to see just everything that you have coming. So, yeah. So that's it for my interview with Jayden Hollywood. Coming up next is High Five. All right, so June is LGBT Pride Month, and I know I'm a little early, but I want to give a high five to everyone that's out there living their best life and being unapologetic about it. I have quite a bit of friends, family members, followers, and even listeners who I celebrate this month who identify as LGBTQ, and so I celebrate these people this month and every single month just for simply being and existing on their own terms. Every day they get up, they go out there and they grace us with their light and their love. And so, high five to them for being a part of my life. High five to you for being a part of my life and for allowing me to participate in yours. And just for, living against the grain. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love y'all so much for that. And each and every one of you means something special to me. And so I want to give a high five to you all. And then I also want to give a high five just to all of my listeners in general. You all are making it possible for me to live and walk in my purpose and in my vision. And for that, I am eternally grateful. I try not to, y'all got me a couple times. I try not to get too sentimental here on the show, but I'm like really a crybaby, like for real in real life. And so, I don't even have the words to truly express to you all what you mean to me. And every time that you click listen, every time that you download, I just really want you all to know and understand how much it means to me that you allow me to be a part of your lives in any way possible. And so this is the last episode of season 1, but season 2, y'all, it's gonna be as that Chris Rock special said, bigger and blacker. It's going down. I'm really excited about it. I'm already planning things, and so high five to all of my listeners, to everybody out there who's ever listened to any episode for any amount of time. Thank you. High five to you, and I appreciate you. That kind of takes us into this week's reality check, and the reality check this week is really more like a message. Okay. I want to give a reality check to everybody out there who is contemplating doing something. You have a gift, you have something that you believe is your purpose, you have a passion project, like you have something that you want to do, and for one reason or another, you are afraid to make it happen. I just want to say to you, reality check, get off your ass and make it happen. Like, I am literally recording the final episode of my first season, a full season of my very own podcast. Like, if you listen to those early episodes, y'all, they are like a hot ass mess. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna lie, they are a hot ass mess. Like, as those first couple episodes, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't really have a clear understanding on like how to make this happen and things like that. And I'm still learning, I'm still growing, but I made it through 37 episodes. You know, I missed a couple episodes here and there. I didn't always get things right, you know, like I messed up some episodes, like, but I made it happen. And so my reality check today is really just for anybody out there who feels like they have something in them that they are afraid to pull it out and give it life and give it voice. The reality check is that it's not going to happen if you don't make it happen. And also that you deserve to experience the richness of seeing it happen and of making it happen. This is one of the best decisions that I've made, I want to say in my life, you know, and I want as many of you to experience that as possible. Not, maybe your thing is not a podcast. That's fine. Your thing doesn't have to be a podcast, but whatever your thing is, you got to get up and you got to get out there and you got to make it happen every chance that you get. And so it's not going to happen if you don't get up and make it happen. And so that's my reality check for today is, get off your ass and pursue your dreams, because ain't nobody going to make it happen for you. Okay. All right. I do have a few shout outs today. Of course, I want to give a shout out again to Mr. Jayden Hollywood, the host of Unapologetik Podcast. You all go ahead and look up, go over to Jayden's website and check out his tour dates and things like that. I've already registered for like a couple things that he has going on. For sure, I've already registered for the podcast connection, and I'm really excited about that. I'm also trying to plan maybe a small little side event since I'm going to be in Atlanta already for Jayden's event. Maybe I want to try to figure out a way for y'all to come and see me, maybe in a small group setting or something like that. I'll be able to give y'all more information about that when season 2 starts back up. But shout out to Jayden Hollywood and Unapologetik Podcast and everything that he has going on over there. Of course, shout out to Black Married Fly Podcast, Treb, Candace. I appreciate you all so much for sharing your platform with me and for introducing me to your audience, because a lot of my listeners also listen to Black Married Fly Podcast, and they have been supporters since like really day one. And so I appreciate them. I love them. I just cannot wait to freaking meet them face to face in real life. Like, thank y'all so much for just loving on me and supporting me and being a friend to the show. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Black Married Fly Podcast, and just for being black as hell and married as hell and fly as shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, just shout out to y'all for all of that. Shout out to the Evolving Chair podcast. Hey, Lakeisha, for being supportive and things like that as well, having me on her show and being a friend to the show, and, you know, just being an all around good person. I really appreciate you. You know, these 3 podcasts really stepped out on the limb and took a chance on me and featured me on their own shows and shared me with their own audiences. And, you know, as a new podcaster just getting into it or whatever, like, that means a lot. It really does. And so just shout out to all 3 of those podcasts. If y'all have not checked them out, please do. I don't know if y'all have noticed or not, but I don't be recommending podcasts on this show that I don't really listen to. And so these are 3 very good shows here. And so if you like my show, you probably would like theirs as well. I mean, we bring different things to the table, but you know, you a Renaissance woman or whatever, you can do it, right? You can find yourself in multiple places. Okay. I also want to give a shout out to all of my guests this season. I had some very dynamic guests on the show this season. And, you know, interviewing guests is something that's kind of new for me, but I really, really love it. And you all love it when I interview guests as well. So that's definitely something that is going to be incorporated in season 2. So if you're looking to be a guest, if you have an interesting story and you're not afraid to share that story, you feel like your experience can be beneficial to other women and other people who are going through those same experiences, then you know, reach out to me or whatever. Send me an email at unicornstalkpod@latricesampsonrichards.com. So shout out to all of my guests this season. Thank you so much for sharing your stories and allowing me to be a part of your journeys, and for being a part of my journey. I greatly appreciate that. Shout out to all of those who've educated me on podcasting, like just all of my podcasting fairy godmothers, those like in my head and those in real life, all of the Facebook groups that I'm a part of, specifically the She Podcast group, has been extremely beneficial in teaching me just some of the ins and outs of podcasting. And so shout out to everybody that has contributed to my podcasting journey. Definitely, last but not least, shout out to my husband, my baby, the Jamaican. I love him so much for being so supportive. He doesn't always understand the work that I do, but he always unequivocally 100% is my biggest cheerleader and my biggest supporter. And sometimes he's my coattail puller when I'm losing my damn mind and I need to be brought back to reality. And sometimes, you know, he's just my listening ear and, you know, keeping me sane and allowing me to be me, and really actually showing me new parts of myself and allowing me to explore those parts as I go. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to my husband. I love you, baby. And I cannot wait to come home and start making some babies. I'm pretty sure that was TMI, but y'all know that's what I do. So it is what it is. All right. As far as announcements, like I said, season 2 is going to begin in August. I'm really looking at that first week of August because y'all know my birthday is on August 6th. And so maybe we'll do like a 1-year anniversary season 2 kickoff birthday bash kind of episode or something like that. I'm still working that out. But again, if you want to be a guest in season 2, go ahead and shoot me an email or just go to the website and fill out a contact form. Let me know who you is and what you have to offer in terms of sharing your story with my audience. Okay. I'm also planning my very first tour. It's not as big of a tour as Jayden's, but you know, Jayden been in the game a lot longer. Well, not a lot, but a little longer than I have, and he's working his ass off. But my tour is going to be a 4-city tour. It's going to begin in September, kicking off in New Orleans. I'm going to give you all more details about the exact dates and things like that in the season 2 opener. So I'm really excited about that. I cannot wait to meet you all face to face and really get a chance to experience your energies and things like that. So I'm really excited about that. If you have not already, go ahead and register for the Empower Your Vision Masterclass, you all. The masterclass is like exceeding my expectations, and I'm really excited about it. I'm going to be making some changes to that as well. Not the class itself, but just the Facebook group. I think I'm going to consolidate that just because, the course is free now, and so I don't know. I'm gonna see. I'll give y'all more information about that as well. And of course, Trust Village, my women's over there, all of my villagers. Trust Village is growing, you all. We have 695 members as of May 30th. So that's today, May 30th. And I started this in December, like December 17th or something like that. And so I know that, 695 is not a ridiculously large number. I mean, I'm a part of groups that have 30,000 members. So I know that this is really just the beginning. But to be at almost 700 members in like 6 months, like that is a big deal to me. And to have all of those women have chosen to be a part of this group and to, with the explicit, purpose of learning how to love on each other and love on themselves and to grow and all of that good stuff. Like I'm overwhelmed with just the enormity of that and what that means. And so shout out to Trust Village. If you have not joined, make sure you do. It's a free group. Why not join? It's a safe space for healing and manifestation, specifically for Black women. And that is one thing that I really try to stick to. You know what I'm saying? Women for sure. I want us to feel comfortable and know that we have a space that is all our own. Okay, so follow on all of the social medias, Unicorns Talk Pod on Facebook, IG, and Twitter. Check out the website, latricesampsonrichards.com/Unicorns Talk Pod. Listen on the web, or you can find out everywhere that the show is available by going to the website as well. And you can follow me directly on Facebook and Instagram at Latrice Sampson Richards, and on Twitter at LSamRichards. And that's it. That is the end of season 1. I know that I say this after every single episode, but I want you all to know unequivocally that I love y'all and I appreciate y'all. And until next time, which will be season 2, be well. Bye, y'all.